Okay, here we go. There's a little more air in the room. I don't know why.
Where is Bob? Where is Bob? I
don't know.
I think he's in Kentucky at like I forget the name of the school, but I thought I saw something of him speaking to a class. And how lucky are those kids that they get Bob Ryan in to give them all the knowledge that he normally imparts on us, right?
Well, I do know that it must be pretty important because I've never known Bob Ryan to miss an appearance.
And I'm sure he's gonna like this one. That's the sad part, is the topics that we've got for this show. He's gonna be upset that he wasn't here.
Well, maybe we can do something next week. We could say we can do a little lightning round with Bob, catch up from last week's show. Okay, first of all, Kendrick Perkins is becoming just an incredible personality when it comes to covering the NBA. So Perk called out Kevin Durant James Harden for basically kissing Kyrie's butt when it comes to the vaccination because of this whole situation now. Because Kyrie's only going to be available for certain games for the rest of the season because of vaccination rules and regulations. He has hurt his team. So what do you feel about Perk's comments?
Well, and I've talked to enough players that have been around Kyrie in the locker room, and what they'll always say, Gary, is they walk on eggshells with Kyrie because of his personality, because you have upbeat, happy, go lucky Kyrie that you absolutely love and you want on your team. And then some days you have moody Kyrie, Mr. Negativity, who's miserable and he wants no part of it. So I think that's the hard part. If you're Kevin Durant, well, you've hitched your wagon to Kyrie Irving. So you got to do whatever you can now to just try to figure this thing out and not rock the boat with Kyrie, because if there's a rift between those two, it's over. It's over. Kevin Durant has no shot of winning another title. So he's got to try to figure out a way to make sure there's harmony in that locker room when Kyrie is playing on the road. And it's not easy. So I think you've got to approach it very carefully and methodically when dealing with Kyrie if you're James Harden or Kevin Durant, but especially Kevin Durant, because he is the one who really, again, brought Kyrie and with him is a package deal. And it's kind of on him if this thing doesn't work. And if it blows up in your face, and then Kyrie said, like, I'm done. He did that last year. Remember, like after the January 6th attacks, what did Kyrie do? He said, I'm out. I can't handle this. So you always run the risk of saying or doing the wrong thing to Kyrie Irving. And then him saying, you know what? I'm not even going to play him in road games. I'm out. Are
they better off just without Kyrie Irving?
No, because they can't win it all without Kyrie Irving. Even if you get Kyrie for 3 games, let's say, in an NBA Finals, if you make it that far, well, you win those 3 and you steal 1 more without him. What do you got, Gary? You got an NBA championship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
He listen, he's super talented. We know that. Like, we're not saying anything everybody else doesn't already know. He's got the best handle of anybody that we've seen maybe in our lifetime. And again, he can win you a game. And he's shown, even with the time off, he's come right back and made a huge impact. So he can do all that. I would say, listen, if I'm looking at it strictly from a basketball, chasing the title perspective, and I'm Kevin Durant or James Harden, I'm saying to myself, well, I've already tried to talk to Kyrie. We're not winning this battle. Okay. He's not going to get the vaccination now. So here's the question. Do you have 3 games or do you have none? Well, I'll take 3.
You take the 3 games. You do. But as you've said time and time again, Kevin Durant really messed up by leaving Golden State.
Yes.
Really messed up because, look, I mean, they would have 4 or 5. They'd be the Bulls. They'd have 4 or 5 in a row.
It's ridiculous. It was the dumbest move ever. And you're playing in a system where the ball moves. You're still the best player. You're going to get credit for winning it all. And yes, some people will say, well, you weren't the best player or you joined the team that beat you. Who cares? Like, Who gives a shit at the end of the day, Gary,
I know.
when you have 5 or 6 titles
Right.
when you retire?
Right.
Dumb.
I agree.
Dumb.
To me, I will always find it very perplexing. Always
He
find it
made
very
the right
perplexing.
decision. To me, I always said this. He made the right decision when he left Oklahoma City to go to
Sure.
Golden State. Everybody
Yeah, and
killed
he
him
should have
for
stayed
it.
there.
Totally. He took the hit then. He took the heat, the hits, all of it from like half the NBA world. So you took it and dealt with it and showed everybody you were still the best player on that team when it mattered most. And then you're going to run from it and walk away
Right.
from that situation when you're playing with, again, not only you're playing with great players, but you're playing with great human beings in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. You're playing with one of the best coaches in how to deal with people on the planet in Steve Kerr, and one of the best general managers in Bob Myers. If you can't get along with that group, you need to look in the mirror.
Well, one team that has to look in the mirror, the Lakers. As I was taking a look at some of the things that are going on in the NBA this week, and you see the headline: the Wolves, the Knicks, and the Lakers are on the bubble, and you go,
Yeah.
okay, wait a minute. One of these things is not like the two other. Now, why are the Lakers on the bubble? Frank Vogel, I knew him when he used to set up the microphones for press conferences with the Celtics, and he was just this wide-eyed kid. Great guy.
Great guy.
And what's going to happen to him? And what's going on with this team?
Well, come on. You know when you're Frank Vogel and you get this job, there's an expiration date on it, right? When you get it. Right? Like, no matter what, there's going to be a time, and you took it over when, again, LeBron's getting older. So you're not, AD's fragile. And now you're bringing Russ, who was just a horrible fit with this group.
Right.
Terrible fit. I know they had to do something, right? So Rob Pelinka, he makes a big move and hopes bringing Russ home and whatnot. Well, they've lost 4 of their last 5. Part of the problem is obviously AD is fragile. He's only played 27 games this year, but they're under 500. And I don't think they're capable necessarily of just flipping the switch anymore.
I agree.
You can do it to some extent, maybe in the first round, if you get in the first round. Although, to be honest, I mean, if you look at it now, that's going to be the issue. If you get in the first round now, look at who you're going to end up having to play. Like, you're going to play in the play-in, first of all, like you did last year. And yeah, you'll win the play-in. You're talking the Clippers, Minnesota, maybe Portland, who's been terrible, and they've had their injuries this year. But then, you're going to get like a Phoenix or a Golden State. You're not flipping the switch against Phoenix or Golden State and winning with LeBron being what he is now, which is not a consistently dominant player. Like he's dominant, but not like he used to be, where he can just take over a game physically, impose his will on a game. And again, not having AD and Russ, they're old. Carmelo, Russ, LeBron, they're either old or they're fragile. So, like, you can't count on any of them when it matters most. Like, the one thing you can say with Milwaukee and some of these other teams, Phoenix, like, you can count on them. I guess Chris Paul, maybe you can't count on because he's always hurt too. But, Milwaukee, you can count on Giannis now. Like, you just don't know if LeBron's going to be able to make it through the playoffs anymore.
Right. And I think from an entertainment perspective, I wondered how the league was going to do with the Lakers. I think just not as advertised, because I don't know if it means anything I don't want to question LeBron's heart, but I don't know if he has, maybe this is unfair, but does he have the same will to win that Jordan always did? Like, and I think LeBron's a nice guy and Jordan is not. So you know what I mean?
Well, that's part of it. Yes, that's part of it is MJ had that killer in him, the F you. I'm gonna rip your heart out. I'm not going out with anybody. Like, but it's a different generation too. We know that. Like, this generation, LeBron with AU ball growing up with these guys and kids, hanging out with Chris Paul.
I don't know if LeBron retired tomorrow, I don't know if it would keep him up at night that he didn't win another. And that's okay. You know what I mean? I mean, that's okay.
Yeah. He's got a lot. There's a lot else you can do though these days.
I mean, God, people, right? I feel bad for LeBron. They get on him a lot, where people is like, I mean,
He's still,
MJ,
listen, he's still been so amazing in his career.
of course.
Again, he's not MJ. You and I are old enough that we've seen both in their primes, right? There aren't many. A lot of the younger people these days are like, LeBron this, LeBron that, and they'll talk about Jordan. And it's like, yeah, but you had to really see every game and watch Michael, and he was just so feared by everybody.
And
feared.
angry.
Like,
I mean, Michael Jordan played angry. I mean, he was an angry.
Not that fear with LeBron.
No, because LeBron, look, again, if you gave me a choice of who to have dinner with, I'd rather go with LeBron.
Well, no, that's not true. No, you'd rather go to dinner with MJ, and still you'd rather get behind the mind of Michael Jordan than sit with LeBron James. Come on.
Well, I also heard LeBron doesn't pick up the check, so I don't know. Maybe that was it. But I mean, my point is like
you want to gamble. You
yeah,
want to gamble.
Well, yeah, that's right. You would gamble, but I mean, Michael Jordan, as you know, at his Hall of Fame ceremony, and like invited people to the Hall of Fame ceremony just so we could kind of dump on him. I mean, he is
I love it.
Of course. I mean, I think Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player that ever lived. I've always said that. I think, and for me, the difference was defensively. I just think he's a better defensive player than LeBron, and I just think his will to win is unmatched.
For me, the difference was up here, and not the IQ part of it. LeBron actually, again, a much better passer. Right. The difference to me was just that it factor that he had when the game was on the line, where he just said again, "F you, give me the effing ball." And nobody's beating me. I'm going to do it. If I got to do it by myself, I don't need Scotty. I don't need anybody else. I can do this shit by myself, and I'm going to do this shit by myself.
Right. So LeBron, I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron doesn't win another title, and I'm okay with that. And I think he's okay with that. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
The only good thing is you may get a good first round matchup out of this, where again, like last year with it, the play-in is the play-in. I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, like last year, I felt like the play-in was entertaining because you had Golden State and the Lakers. This year, not nearly as entertaining, but you should get a 1 versus 8, maybe, or a Phoenix or Golden State versus or Memphis even against the Lakers in the first round, and all three of those would be. Like, listen, they'd be ratings winners for the television.
Oh, yeah. The couple of big stories or very interesting stories this year in the NBA has been Cleveland and the Grizzlies. Yeah. What's the bigger story in your mind?
Well, I guess it would be the Grizzlies because of Ja, right? Because Ja has kind of captured the league this year and put himself into a conversation where we've talked about him and said, I'm not sure there's another guy in the league that you'd start your team with. Beyond Ja Morant, he's that good, and they've kind of established themselves not as a NBA title contender, but as a team that is on the rise that could maybe get there if they add another piece in the next couple of years. Cleveland, to me, has been even more surprising because let's face it, the Cavs have been the laughing stock of the league, really, for the most part, since LeBron left, and I didn't think Kobe Altman would still be the general manager there at this point. I didn't, I mean, he was a guy that Dan Gilbert hired. He was like 3rd or 4th in command, and he hires him, and, they're drafting, but not like in a great spot. They get like Colin Sexton, mid to late lottery, Darius Garland, mid to late lottery. They had Jared Allen, great move this year. They still got Kevin Love's crappy contract. They can't get rid of him. Nobody will take Kevin Love in his contract. And then you add Evan Mobley this year, and you get really lucky with him because he is a tremendous talent, tremendous, and a high character dude. So you've got guys that fit together. I was in Cleveland actually earlier in the preseason talking to a bunch of season ticket holders and before the draft. And I said, Mobley's the guy that they need because he fits best with Jared Allen on that front line. So you got Mobley, Allen. Colin Sexton's played 11 games. They're better without him because he's a ball-dominant guard that's a high-volume type guy. But they lost Sexton and then Ricky Rubio, their other point guard. He's out for the year. He was terrific for them. And they get Rondo now, and they'll fall off. but the foundation is there. You know, Garland's had a hell of a year. Mobley's going to be a stud in the league. Jared Allen is a really, really good defender and a frontline player. They're like one more, and they got Larry Markkinen before the season in a trade because Chicago didn't really want him. They wanted to unload him, and Cleveland took him. So I guess what I'm saying here is, to me, Kobe Altman, their young GM, and Mike Yancey, his sidekick, have made all the right moves. And now I'm glad because, listen, the odds were stacked against them.
Right.
Who wants to go to Cleveland? Nobody. You can't get a free agent there. And there wasn't anything left in the cupboard. So they've done it through the draft and made good quality decisions because these two guys are really good talent evaluators, Kobe Altman and Mike Yancey.
Okay, so next week, Bob Bryan will return. We'll have to do the lightning round with Bob to get all of his thoughts on this. And maybe we could find, where did you say he's speaking again? He's speaking in Kentucky at.
I just saw something. I wonder if he, Bob needs to be more active on Twitter. It needs to be like the where am I?
Well, he doesn't do that. No. He doesn't talk. He doesn't use it as a marketing tool.
I want to say it was in I feel like it was like not Transylvania College, but like something in the Midwest.
Well, maybe there'll be a college article on it. Maybe we could find something online.
I'm searching for Bob Bryan and seeing if I can find out where Bob Bryan was.
Maybe there'll be something where a young Cub reporter had a chance to sit down and speak to Bob Bryan, the Hall of Fame sports writer.
I'm going to find out where Bob Bryan is.
Where is Bob Bryan? Well, on that note.
Yeah, he is at Transylvania, and he spoke. He was a guest commentator for the Transylvania game against somebody last night, I believe. How about that?
I wonder how much you get paid. I wonder if you get. I wonder.
We need a scouting report, Gary, about Transylvania next week. I want like a full breakdown of Transylvania, their team, what their chances are of getting into the national title game this year.
Well, I'm sure we'll get it. And I just wonder who made more money, Bob Bryan or Jeff Goodman off the UFC fight. So we'll see.
I would say Bob Bryan. I
don't know. You know something? I don't think it takes a lot to get him out of the house.
If he can go to a game. No. The thing with Bob is all you have to do, if you're smart, if you want Bob to speak, okay?
Right.
And he hasn't been to your arena yet, and you're a D1 college program, and he hasn't been, and there's still a ton he hasn't been to. He'll claim all these arenas that he's been to if it's like an NCAA tournament game and he sees it there. We've argued about this a little bit. I'm not sure those all qualify, but whatever the case, if you know Bob Bryan, like if Gonzaga he's never been to Gonzaga. Like, to me, if I'm Mark Few, I'm going to pay Bob Bryan, come to a game. I'll have you speak to my team. You can give some words of wisdom to Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme. And that's a no-brainer.
Bob Bryan went to the high school baseball field I played on in Maine because when he was going to Maine for a 2-week vacation with his wife, I told him, when you get to Dixfield, Maine, instead of taking a right, take a left, and you'll be at the ball yard, next to the paper mill. You'll be at the field. You'll be at Hosmer Field. And he did, and he went, and I couldn't believe it. I said, Bob, the baseball field I played on growing up is right next to the horseshoe pits. You can't miss it.
Imagine poor Elaine Ryan has to all these detours that she has to take wherever they go. He's looking on the map of like, all right, where else can I go? Whose hometown can I kind of go through? It could be anybody. It could be anybody. It could be anywhere.
She's a saint. God bless you, Elaine. Jeff, we'll talk to you next week.